Today we have with us Robert Slowinski. He is a biologist in genetic genealogy, and he's originally from Chicago, Illinois. Robert has a BA in biology and art from Knox College and an MS in zoology from Western Illinois University. He is the founder of DNA Explorers. He provides professional services to those who have taken paternal, which is Y-DNA, maternal, which is mtDNA, and autosomal DNA tests for ancestry purposes, and that he helps those who need assistance interpreting their results and helping them solve their brick walls, their genealogy brick walls. And Robert is in Rushville right now, right? And
Correct.
he has his program today is navigating myheritage.com. So Robert, if you want to go ahead and take over.
Sure. Thank you. Can you hear me just fine? Yes. Okay, great. Welcome to Siberia, Indiana. It is like a snow globe outside today, but it's still beautiful at this point. I have a presentation that is brand new. It has never been presented before, but it is about a topic that I have found a lot of information using this website. I just want to let everybody know that I do not get paid by MyHeritage. I am a subscriber to MyHeritage, but I'm doing this to basically show the things that I've learned using myheritage.com. And let me see if I can share my screen. And I have to wait to this. Oh, home. That's not it. Here we go. Looking for, I need to get to slideshow presentation. That's being blocked by the bar up here. Let me do this. There we go. Slideshow from beginning. Okay, fantastic. Okay, Linda is waiting to enter the room, so. Welcome, Linda. And welcome, everybody. This is a presentation hot off the press, like I mentioned, and it is something that I wanted to share with the people doing genealogical research because it's important to be able to use any type of tool you can to further your investigations into your family tree. Initially, my family tree was very small, and so I wanted to expand that quite significantly in any way I could. I have done my own genealogical research as well as also had professional genealogists that have many more years experience doing the genealogical portion than I do. But I have been doing a lot of genetic genealogy since 2007 and am happy to help out people who have questions regarding their genetic genealogy results. But this thing is basically, and I do a number of presentations about Y-DNA, mtDNA, and autosomal DNA, even about ethnicity estimates. But this one is something a little special. I know a lot of people are probably on Ancestry, and I am a subscriber for Ancestry as well. But I found that MyHeritage offers some very interesting tools and assistance to you that is kind of like automated, and that I find that has been very helpful for me to expand my family tree. And so let's get into the presentation, and we will explore and navigate myheritage.com. So MyHeritage is a primarily a genealogical website that it does include autosomal DNA testing that provides ethnicity estimates and matching. The website is www.myheritage.com. And I wish to say again that they are not paying me to do this. I'm doing this because I find the information very interesting and helpful on their website. It is, okay, MyHeritage is based in Israel and has a large number of European and US customers at its base. The biggest plus about this website is that it does have a lot of European customers. Essentially, if you have ancestry stemming from a European lineage, there are possibilities that there might be those European and relatives that might have family trees and or DNA that tests that they've done as well. So I think this is one of the things that allows us to potentially get back to Europe if you have European heritage. They also have a lot of information for matches in the United States as well. It is a subscription-based website that includes possibilities to build your family tree, upload your GEDCOM file, and order DNA tests. Now, the family tree portion of this website is something that is actually pretty nice. And the reason I say that is because it's more of an experience doing that, because once you start adding people to your family tree or upload your GEDCOM, you start getting all these little suggestions. And we're not talking about these little green leaves. We're talking a lot more in-depth and a different structure for these hints and things that you need to review to potentially expand your family tree. And let me see, let's go on to the next page here. Okay, so these little things that are the hints, MyHeritage calls them discoveries. And essentially, they are matches by people or matches by source. And the matches by people is a pure family tree based matching system that pairs your tree to other in its database and allows you to find additional information from other trees to your own. You can add that information to your tree if you, after your review, and I'll go into that, after you review this information, you can say, well, look, I would love to have this information. It allows you to add that to your tree if you feel the information is good. And they have matches by source, matches to various databases. Let's see, 1 second here. From Jenny to gravestone websites, to Holocaust records, to church books, to US Census records, to various indices. And it's very simple to use. The thing is that you don't access the different sources. MyHeritage provides you with the matches that you can review. So essentially, it is given to you on potentially a genealogical silver platter, so you can use that at your leisure. Now, they do autosomal testing as well. Autosomal testing is pretty much genome-wide, your entire genetic code, except for it's only a portion of that where they take bits and pieces of it all across the board. And then they start matching you to, first of all, what type of ethnicity they think you might be, and also your matches, and providing you with whether it's a first cousin, second cousin, third cousin, or distant cousin, or even sister, brother, or I should say sibling, and or parent or grandparent. This is something that you can contact matches as well as see other matches you have in common. And there's something a little bit different that they do about their autosomal matching, and I'll share that with you today. And then family trees show individual new information. So I'll show you when you get on your family tree and you have that uploaded. They'll have little icons, and that you can click on those to get more information about what they feel might be a good match to your information. Now, there is, like many other websites, an internal messaging system, and this is basically contact information for each of the matches. And this could be a family tree manager, or it could be your DNA match that they allow you to contact. Now, if you have had any experience with these genealogical websites or the DNA testing websites, you know that not everybody is so excited about returning your emails or even answering them or perhaps even opening them. But I would say that be patient with that. And the idea, and I'll give you a little hint here, the idea behind sending messages to people, I'll go a little bit more in detail, is to be as well non confrontational as possible so that you are basically not looking like you're so excited that they might think you want money or something like that. So um, let's go on to cover a little bit about the DNA matches. This is kind of like an introductory couple of slides to give you an idea of what we're going to be covering today. My talks are usually kind of a whirlwind of information, but I try to break it down so that it's easy to follow. Now, DNA matches, autosomal testing only, and they're also adding some sort of a personal traits testing that's available, and I haven't gone into that, but I have done that with 23andMe, and that includes a lot of medical things as well. Now, we won't be talking about any medical issues regarding testing today, but they do compare at MyHeritage your relatedness, country of origins, amount of shared DNA, and there are a couple of tools. One's called the Chromosome Browser, and the other one is under DNA matches that are shared. And I'll cover that, but I want to give you a little bit of a tidbit information before we get into that. Let's jump right in and see what they do. Oh, wait a minute. I just got an email. Oh, okay, here we go. That's coming up next. This is when you upload your family tree, then you get what's called a website on their page. And this is the Slowinski website, Meet the Slowinskis. This is a random picture that they put up that generated on there. I don't know any of my ancestors that wore striped pants like that, but I think that it's very, very interesting because it kind of gives you more of an antique look to the website. And eventually I'll change that to some more of a family photo that I can add to that. But this is the home page essentially. And you can see at the top of the page, we have things like home, family tree, discoveries, photos. They allow you to upload a lot of photos of ancestors on here. And they have a section on DNA and there's a section on research as well. So let me see here. It says basically I have 135 people in my family tree, 24 photos uploaded, discoveries are 5, and DNA matches, they say I have 4,713 matches. I'm going to start looking at those matches right now. I'll get back to you in about an hour, and then I think we'll be good to go. Okay, so just in case you don't have the time to go looking at MyHeritage all the time, they do send you emails, like other companies do the same thing too, where they basically say, hey, you have new things that are on your website. Let's take a look at it. So they will basically provide you with notifications. Sometimes they will show up, especially if you have a Gmail account, under your primary emails. But sometimes they will show up under the social tab on your emails. And I've outlined that down here at the bottom. And basically, those are when you have a lot of smart matches that come up. The primary is typically for if someone is contacting you. So that's something that you want to look forward to when you have the email alerts that come from MyHeritage. Okay, let's just jump right into the family trees, because I know everybody's really into family trees and wants to know more about MyHeritage. I don't know if I can do a show of hands for MyHeritage. How many are subscribers to that? I know it's not as popular as Ancestry, or even like for the testing companies, Family Tree DNA, which I also am have tested through them as well. But definitely, MyHeritage is the great place for genealogists to go to. And oh, great, some people that have done this. It is a very interesting site. And the thing is that as I went into this site, I just saw more and more things that could help me in my investigations for my family tree. But I want to tell you right now, at the bottom of the page is a very handsome me, and that's an old picture of me, and I don't have a picture of me being old. So this is something that you start out with yourself, again, with any family tree, and work your way up back in time. My father, mother, grandfather, grandmother on my mother's side, and the line goes to the left over here for my father's side. But when you look at these boxes and you can fill them up with the dates of death and birth and a whole bunch of other things if you want to expand that as much as you want to. And MyHeritage also allows you to add even more information into there, but it'll be tucked away when you're looking at the family tree version of this. What I want to make sure is that you understand is that at the top of the left-hand side of the page, there are 3 icons, and each of the icons essentially has a meaning to it. And one of them is smart matches, the other one is discoveries, and the other one is a DNA match, essentially. So you can click on one of those, you'll be able to see what your smart matches are, discoveries, and as well as DNA matches. The thing is that these icons will also pop up on the boxes for each one of your relatives. Not every ancestor will receive a icon like that, but in case they have at MyHeritage some information that will be pertinent to your ancestor. Now, again, information that they think is pertinent that you need to review before you basically accept that information. So right now over here on Yusef Wrodzławski, there is a green icon that is the arrows that go around. So there is a smart match for Yusef over here. And I know for my mother, Apollonia, there is another match for discovery. This is matches by sources. So there's information about that I can click on for that. And I'll go over some of those things in a second. So just to know, to show you that these icons in the top left-hand portion of the screen are informational, so that you can look up about specific ancestors. Now, not necessarily what you are looking for, but the information that is provided by MyHeritage about specific ancestors that they found a connection with. Hold on one second here.
T-Bot, if you have a question, you can type it into the chat, if that's why you have your hand up.
Sorry about that. Yes, do we have a question? Is it in the chat? Okay, Ancestry and MyHeritage. Handout. Okay, we're going back in time. Okay, I don't see any questions. Do you see anything, Bill? Okay, let's go on here. Okay, so you can see, I'm going to move the screen here. What I did is that I did a screenshot of my family tree on here, but I expanded some things. I know sometimes on a laptop or screen or an iPad, boy, is it tough to see some of these things. Everything's so small. So what I did is I blew up the thing that says about smart matches, and it says basically click to view smart matches to people and other family trees. One thing that's found very interesting about this is that it does link you to other family trees based on the information. And they must have quite the algorithm going on over there to link you to other trees. And they're actually I think pretty aggressive about this to get information from other trees. I think that you, if as a genealogist, would like to link to other trees. And that's the thing that I would like to, because it would expand my family tree quite a bit. And I found out there's not only just does it link expand to direct ancestors, but also their uncles or essentially sisters and brothers that can be brought in that you may not know about. So these smart matches essentially for Józef Wrocławski provides that. And so we'll go into that a little bit as well. But that kind of gives you an idea, is that occasionally, if you just hover over that icon or click that icon, it'll say that there are smart matches, and you can go then to the smart matches page to review. Hold on, I think my screen is frozen now. Yay. Okay, here we go. Now, there are also what are called instant discoveries that can be added. And what are the times that they do? And this is where it looks like there's a miniature 4th of July parade going on. They're saying discovery with the stars and flashbangs and things like that. I wish it was animated, it'd be more fun. So the thing is that they have basically an instant discovery that I can click on, and potentially, if it works out, I can add 39 other relatives onto this. And I'm like doing a little dance in the background thinking, this is a fantastic website. I know my dancing skills aren't the best right now. So what I want you to notice is that this is sometimes a discovery for those people who you don't have in your family tree, and they'll provide that as well. But if you look down over here, you can see other matches that have other family members that have information that can be revealed. And so as you go through your family tree and expand it, this doesn't happen like immediately. Give it a little bit of time, let their algorithms try to work their magic, and then all of a sudden you check next time, or you might get an email saying, hey, check your discoveries. So that is something that let's dive into what a discovery actually is. And Józef Wrocławski has basically been as a smart match came up, and he is my great grandfather on my father's side, and essentially I have information in my tree. This is what I like about this, is that they'll put your information on one side of the screen and the new information on the other side of the screen. And so what they'll do essentially is that you can look basically mano a mano here and say, can I compare directly to someone else's family tree with that information for that specific person to see if they match up? And all of a sudden, there are times when you're like, yes, that matches, the date matches, the location matches, death date matches. And then all of a sudden, there's like more people, like more, not maybe siblings. It could be more children that are on there that you did not have in your tree. And essentially, then you can determine whether or not you feel that the records that they have provided, that they're matching, are worth your time. Now, that is basically looking at the specific person. I'll see my cursor on there. But then you go to review match. If you feel that the information up front is satisfactory, then you go to review match. And then when you're reviewing that match, you get a whole host of information that is compartmentalized. That means you have a chance to look at snippets of information rather than being overwhelmed with all this information. Now, as you scroll down, you can see whether or not there are exact matches in other people that are part of this. So Józef Wrocławski I am my great-grandfather. All of a sudden below him is his father, Franciszek Wrocławski. And he essentially I have in my family tree on the left-hand side, and then we have other information on the other side. The question is whether or not this information is new. We see that Victoria Wrocławski, born Skóra, his mother, essentially. But we have some other information about another woman on here that I didn't know about. Many times in our historical family tree, our ancestors lost spouses and they had to remarry. This happens pretty regularly, but not all the time. So essentially, sometimes there might be some information And here's the thing. When you match someone else's information on someone else's tree, they give you the contact information so you can then double verify that if you want to. So that is something that's very important. But also, I mean, I also have some information on here that that person doesn't have. And it's up to them if they want to pull that into their family tree or not. But what I wanted to show you is how you can compare side by side the information that you are willing to basically review and potentially accept. Now, here is where I looked at, I'm like thinking, okay, I saw a great-great-grandfather, Franciszek Wrocławski, and they give some information. And what they'll know is that they'll check out that there's new information about birthplace, deathplace, burial place, siblings, and children that you might not have, and you can review that match as well. So this is looking at a great-great-grandfather on my father's mother's side. So, okay. So we have a gentleman who has no face, but looks sort of Amish at the same time, is represented as a figure for my great-great-grandfather. And so the question is, we found this person who has the same name, has, now you look at the birth, look at the death, parents, and siblings, if that's on there, and then go from there to see if you want to, are these the same person? If you want to say that they are the same person, then you can click on that. And all of a sudden, then it generates all the other people that may be added onto your tree. Now, you can reject this if you don't feel this information is any good. Otherwise, you can add it to your tree. When you click the magic add to your tree button, this little icon with a guy on a bicycle shows up and he starts pedaling. Sometimes a little furiously, just in case that there's a lot of information. But it's a very cute little detail, I think, that's very nice to have. So let me see right here. Okay, we need to press on because I've got a lot of slides to go through. Okay, now when you are, this is matching by people, and there is a section that I talked about matches by source. So it has on mine, U.S. Public Record Index, there is a match for information on the Public Record Index. So what we want to do is essentially come up with, okay, let's find out what this is all about. They also have United States and Canada Index of Obituaries, as well as you can review that. So it does have not only European-based indices, but also United States as well. So essentially, you have to review a match. Now, this is my mother. She passed away back in 2012, but it basically provides information that you can review whether or not you want to confirm that this is the person, past addresses that they had, and has one thing is interesting is also has the ability to show who their neighbors were at the time of those addresses. So this is something that is very interesting, and you can add to your database. Now, in your family tree, I don't think this is something that's super accessible right away if someone's looking at it, and you can have your family tree be open to other people that are on MyHeritage, or you can make it private. And making it private essentially is that you will name your family tree and then you will mark it private. And then anyone that matches you, essentially, if you wish to look at their family tree, then you have to essentially ask for permission to view that, and they review your request. Let me take a look at this here. Okay, there's one other thing as well that I've, if you could excuse me for 1 second here. Okay, here we go. The Arlsson Archives documents, there has one that came up, is Death, Burial, Cemetery, and Obituaries. And I was very curious because I'd never heard about this before, but then I realized when I clicked on it what it was. This is something that is associated with the Holocaust, and essentially is a very European database that has millions of records. And so I was able to review one match that I had on there, and the match essentially I found out was one of my relatives, Julian Wrocławski, and it provided information that he was in an internment camp, basically, and it shows the date of birth. And so this is another set of records that was recorded that provides information, and I can add that to the database and my family tree to incorporate that in there. So essentially, not necessarily a very uplifting type of data, but I would say it is historical nonetheless. So let me see here. Now, I'm hold on a second here. Why am I still on here it is. There we go. Sorry about that. I am playing daddy daycare today. So I have an information regarding side branches that you have that you can get on there as well. So it's not just necessarily about direct ancestors, but it also is those who are uncles or aunts on there. So I have a great uncle on here, Stefan Kwasniewski. The Kwasniewski line is my mother's maternal line, and essentially that is a great uncle. They say basically he was born in 1915, but death was in called Russia, which is Russia, essentially. And I don't know why they didn't just say Russia on there, but apparently they're getting it from another family tree. And if it's another family tree in a different language, they basically get directly from their family tree wordage. So that kind of gives you an idea that there's some side branches you can gather from that as well as no, it doesn't want to work. Sorry, my screen is frozen up. There we go. And this is Kazimierza Chara, born Kwasniewska. That's a great aunt. It has the date on there. I can view in my tree as well. And it basically has how that person on their tree is related to them. But again, this is another example of side branches or expanding that family portion into aunts and uncles as well, which I found very interesting. Okay, one of the things that is other basically sources of information is that you'll see one that has a gravestone marker on there. And what will happen is that MyHeritage is tied to a gravestone website, and they will then, you can determine whether or not the information that they have for that gravestone for your ancestor is correct or not. If you look carefully on the bottom right-hand side over here, it says view the original record, and they also have images of that. Now, those people that are familiar with the like Grave Finder and things like that will see that they know about the images that are available. Well, this is brought into MyHeritage, and you don't have to look outside of on MyHeritage, because what they'll typically do is they'll try to match up information that you have in your family tree to the other database to get a little bit more of a solid connection. You're not just chasing geese in the park when it comes to this. So, and I did take a look at that, and they have some very interesting ways that they do burials and cemeteries in Poland. It's definitely much tighter spacing between graves, and a lot of times there are multiple family members that are buried in each of these tombs. I don't know if it's one above each other or not, but they have definitely a much tighter spacing between loved ones that are buried. Okay. Let me see if you have any questions. Start jotting them down. We'll look at MyHeritage and DNA. Typically, it's interesting that I first started with MyHeritage because I knew they had a good family tree website, so I wanted to use that. But later I found out that they were using DNA testing, and I did that as well. So I'm going to provide you with some information about the DNA tools and about the ethnicity estimates. Now, I have a whole presentation that covers 9 different testing companies that looked at ethnicity estimates. And it's quite the whirlwind adventure to find out what they think I am or you are as far as your ethnicity. So there's some that like hit a home run out of the ballpark, and some that it looks like they can't find themselves out of a paper bag. So this is something that I want to talk to you about. MyHeritage actually is one of the better ones. And let's talk about the tools and ethnicity estimates. So what they offer under DNA tools, when you look at your DNA information, so when you go up to DNA on the top right-hand part of the screen, and then you go to DNA tools, these are the types of things that you can come up with. Chromosome Browser, auto clusters, and ethnicity map. Now, I won't be covering auto clusters today. That's a tool that is not easily described. But essentially, the Chromosome Browser, I'll show an example of that, where you directly compare chunks or portions of the DNA on each chromosome to see where you share with that person that you match with. And the Ethnicities Map essentially shows basically, they compare your DNA to reference panels associated with each region in the world that they have information on, and to compare what you closely match or best match, essentially. So let's go on to the next one, which is essentially, this is an ethnicity estimate for me. It is, majority of it is Eastern Europe, and I do have some Western European in there. So basically it provides you with information about Eastern European. It is saying that a 93% Eastern European, including Poland, Czechia, Eastern Germany and Hungary, Poland, Hungary, Germany, Slovakia, and Czech. There's a whole bunch of different subgroupings that they have because they have sub panels, reference panels that have that DNA that I match to. And they have this North and West European of 7% as well. And I've tested with other companies like Living DNA, and Living DNA specializes in British and UK type of DNA. And so they have sub-regions within the UK that they will share with you that you match if you have English ancestry. And at one point, Living DNA showed me that I had sections of England that I would be related to, but they updated their algorithm and have since kicked me off the island. So that's okay. At least gives me an idea that most likely I don't have any ethnicity associated with that. But it's always good to know because you never know sometimes. Here's the thing about ethnicity estimates. Do not think that you can start looking up information because you just have an ethnicity estimate that says North and West European. Now I'm going to start scouring the books and going on the biggest wild goose chase ever. You need to track it down by the family members in your family tree to see if that is the case, because that's the best way to find it. Now, an ethnicity estimate can give you an indication that there might be someone in your family tree that you may, once you find them, do some research on. Okay, now when you talk about ethnicity estimates, and this is my little spiel about this, is that these are the areas that they cover globally that they match your, I should say, they take your DNA and they look at it and they say, okay, these are the different reference panels that we have. Who do you match the best, essentially? Now, I looked at Poland for top ethnicities, and essentially it has, you can look at it by areas, and they'll say that these are the areas that also have Polish in there, but also other different groups as well, including Eastern European, Baltic, Balkan, Scandinavian, and North and West European. These are the most common ethnicities in Poland, essentially, as well. I also looked at North and West European ethnicity top countries. It looks at Netherlands, Austria, Belgium, Switzerland, and Germany. There's a whole bunch of other countries as well, but this is kind of like the area that they're saying that is their North and West European. These are some of the top countries that they have and DNA users within their database as well. And for those who have English background, you can look at it from a global standpoint of United States, England, South African, and Australia and New Zealand. as areas that have a high English percentage of the population. This kind of gives you an idea about where their databases are and what potential ethnicities and the locations of those might be. Okay, let me see here. Let me tell you what, let's take a second to stand up, stretch your legs a little bit, maybe do some calisthenics or yoga, and before we get back into this. I feel refreshed now. Let's talk about DNA matches. We'll talk about a list of DNA matches, ways to filter those matches, and each review shows the newest matches first, the specifics of those matches, and other connections to matches. It's like matches within matches. Pretty amazing. Okay, so when you look at your DNA page, you'll have basically this almost target shape with you in the middle over there. There's a couple of concentric rings around that. Now, for me, it says I have 0 close family members. That means that they're not in the database. It doesn't mean I don't have any close family members. Well, unless they left me. I don't think so. I'll better call a couple. I'll be right back. So here's the thing, is that there's extended family members as well on here. I have 2 that they have, and they have 4,774 distant relatives. Most of them are smiling, so I think I could probably get a hold. And then you have a little thing on the top box that says view your DNA matches. One of the things you do before you get to that point is you scroll down and it shows you the countries matches are that have been basically, you can look at those areas instead of specifically looking at the exact matches. You can look at by country. If you know you have a German background ancestry, you can look at your German matches instead of the ones, or if you like looking at the Finland, and you can add the Kingdom, Sweden, France. So my largest number of matches that's on this website is in the United States. So there's essentially potentially people that traveled from Eastern Europe to the United States that are here, that have tested, and they've basically been here long enough, they've claimed essentially that they are United States citizens. And there are some that are like from Germany. Again, you have a whole list, and the list is actually fairly long depending on how many matches you have. But I also have clicked on ones that are from Poland. I do have ancestors and relatives in Poland. I am first generation here, so I have lots of cousins that I've asked them to do some of my genealogical research, and they either say they're just too busy or they perhaps just maybe too lazy. But I think that they're probably not very lazy at all. They're very industrious, hardworking people. And I have had some a very interesting coordination with some of my relatives, and they've given me some very, very helpful information. So any chance you get that you can get back into where your ancestors are from and get in touch with those families, I'm sure they'll be happy to share information as well. Okay, let's go into matches essentially. And when you receive this page, you can do a review of those matches and look at basically estimated relationships, first cousin twice removed, review DNA matches and view their tree. Apparently some have trees with like 22 people. Some of them are not very large. Some have like over 1,000 people on that tree. What happens is that when the family tree gets to be above a couple hundred people, most likely that tree is now private. And essentially that you'll have to ask permission to view that tree. Even if it's a smaller tree, they can put in a lot of information as far as the individual who is managing the tree and or the individual that they are managing it for, to put a lot of these boxes as private as well. Let's go on to, and these matches can be from other parts of the world, United Kingdom and Norway as well, and it shows you how much DNA you share with them. I have a potentially first cousin twice removed. I actually think it's a third cousin once removed, based on the potential where in the family tree it might be. So then you click on that match. Essentially, you have yourself and you have this other person on there, and this person has managed this matched by another person. Gives you an idea of how much information you have as far as match quality. And you go from there. But then you can click on that even further, and you find out that essentially that this is you compared to your match, and then there are other matches in the tree, and these are shared matches. So that for you and your match is essentially like first cousin or third cousin. Now the shared matches you have with both of these people is a third to fifth. And now for that person, your match, the person is a first cousin twice removed or second cousin once removed. And so essentially you find out that there are other people that you have that might be more distant that you share, and then you can do essentially contact those people as well. A lot of the other websites don't do that. This is something I think is a little bit special and provides you an opportunity to find other people that you might be related to that are shared with those that are a part of this whole matching system. Okay, when you compare yourself to the other person, they will give you some information about the Eastern European percentage and other percentages as well. But this is one of the things I want to talk about essentially is that you have the Chromosome Browser, and provides you with information about where on that chromosome you have connections with that are exact matches. Okay, so because I'm a match, I want to find out some information, so I want to talk to them and send an interpersonal, I should say, system email to them essentially, and talk to them regarding the information that I have. And I would like to be able to share common ancestor information to see if we can find that common ancestor. And so my message has been sent. Okay, additional perks here. Hold on one second here. Additional perks. It's the wait, but there's more. Okay, now, of course it froze up now. There we go. MyHeritage also, under the family tree section, offers charts and books. So I know there are companies that specialize, you send your GEDCOM file and they will create a chart for you. This is something that MyHeritage will generate for you by providing what information you want. First, you select the type or chart or book, essentially, whether it's bow tie-like, host family, ancestors, descendants, hourglass, sun chart, fan chart, or all in one. And essentially, you have a choice to create something that you can either print out yourself, or I believe they might have a printing service, I'm not sure. But this is something that is available through MyHeritage. You go through the system, you talk about who the main person is that you want to start the family tree with, and the title that you want on there as well. Mine is Regina Osobe, Robert Schlewiński. And basically is that is my family tree. And basically talks a little bit about what to add on there for facts, years of birth and death, and how many generations you want to list on there. I put 3 for an example for this presentation. You can do this in such a way where you can do single page to print a large poster, or multiple pages to print on a home printer. And then you can press that generate chart. And you're probably thinking, as soon as you press that button, you're going to get instant gratification. No, you have to wait for them to generate that chart. And they will send you an email about what's going on and when you can get that chart. So yes, your chart is being generated now. This typically takes a few minutes. When it's ready, we'll receive an email at my email address with a link to view it, essentially. So, and that basically tells you that it's in progress. This is what I came up with. I did a simple bow tie, and myself, my parents, and a couple of generations up. And you can pick all sorts of different backgrounds. And if you have more photos of your ancestors, they can be on there as well. It seems to me that in some of these, their photos might be a little small, but I guess depending on how many generations you go there, you can have larger icons on there as well. So that kind of gives an information about MyHeritage. And are there any questions? This is my contact information if you have any questions. Also, outside of that, email address is slawinski.usa@gmail.com. And I am on Facebook, if you are on Facebook, at DNA Explorers. You can go on there. I do announcements of the places that I'm presenting at. And I believe I'm going to be speaking in the Tinley Park area in Illinois on April 9th. In June 4th, I'll be speaking to the Kokomo Public Library patrons. On the 14th of June, I'll be speaking to the Tippecanoe County Public Library patrons over there as well. So, but I really want to thank Jill. We had an accidental meeting at the gas station near Walmart, and I explained the new presentation that I was giving, and she got all excited about that. Well, gas prices at that point were probably a little bit lower than they are now. I think that she was more excited about that. But I would say that thank you, Jill, for having me. I appreciate Frankfurt Community Public Library. It's a wonderful building, and I love the resources over there as well.
Oh, thank you very much, Robert. I did not see any questions in the chat. Is there any? I don't think I missed anything as far as questions go. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Does anybody here have any questions? No?
I would say I have a question for your patrons here. After seeing, thank you. I would say thank you for listening, but also, listen, I don't get any money from the people at MyHeritage. So is this something as far as information that you would consider using MyHeritage to increase potentially your toolbox for expanding your family tree or not? Is this something that will be interesting? Because as I said, I wanted to share this information primarily because it helped me on my journey with my family tree.
Robert, I have a question here at the library. Just a second. Okay, so the question we have here is when you're comparing information, somebody's tree with your tree, and you find correct information, how do you actually go about adding that information to your tree?
Okay. What you do is at first you'll see a button that's in orange that'll say review match. Compare all those things on there, scroll down, and they will be basically whether you have a choice for decline or add information. And that there is a portion of that where you can add specific information about just one person if there's multiple people that are added. Now, not everything gets added essentially. You can say you can confirm the match, but then you can start, there's a middle part of the split screen where you can touch on different buttons on there, whether or not you want to add that to your family tree or not. But it is a very convenient tool that provides you with access to information and to add that. But again, be vigilant about this and carefully review that. There are times when you see exactly the same information, but just a little bit more information, and you need to determine whether or not that is the stuff that you want to put on your family tree as well.
So you can review the specific data with each person to
Yes.
determine.
Again, with the person matches or people matches, you will be prompted by an orange button that says review match, and then look at the information and go into further in detail about that. And then you can accept the fact that you are a match, but then you can also take each individual person's information and drag it onto your, it's not like basically um, you're you're not on the screen dragging it, but there might be buttons right there where you can pull that information over onto your family tree.
Okay.
We got more
Um,
messages here.
do we have any more questions?
Well, there are a number of people that are considering it, and they think they use it and they think it's a great tool. And I've used Ancestry. I like Ancestry. They have a huge database of people on there. There's sometimes where I'm looking at it and I get a little bit confused, and there are times when you want to look more in depth, but it takes a lot of time to figure out some things. What I like about MyHeritage is that there are some easy buttons that you can press that basically when you're reviewing matches that they walk you through that. So they understand that visually it's best when people have something to look at to click on so they can go through the steps and get to that right. And the nice thing is that you can also contact these people that are managing these family trees as well.
Well, I didn't know that much about my heritage. I messed around with it a little bit at Midwestern Roots. I think back in 2017 or something when they were trying to market it there at Midwestern Roots. And then when you said you were working on this program, I thought, well, this would be great for our people because uh, it's something new that a lot of them haven't looked into. And then there are some people that have used it, but they could use some guidance in knowing how to better use the tool that they have subscribed to. So, Robert, we thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for attending. Like I said, we're recording this session and it will be posted to YouTube after we've done editing it. We will send you the link so that you can access it and watch it again. Thank you very much and have a good day, everybody.